Good afternoon and welcome to Midday Prime. I'm Gautam Roy. This is the show where over the course of an hour we bring you up to speed with all that is happening in the country and the world, apart from the fields of business and economy as well as sports. But today is a grim day. We're mourning the loss of the nation's first Chief of Defence Staff, General Bipin Rawat, and all the others who also perished along with him in that ill-fated air helicopter crash that took place very close to Coimbatore. And we will bring you up to speed with what is happening on that front as well, because rich tributes are being paid to General Rawat and those who died with him in that crash, even in Parliament, apart from at different locations in the country. And we'll bring you our reporters from those different locations as well. But first, as always, our big news of the hour. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh makes a statement on the chopper crash in Tamil Nadu in Parliament. Says General Bipin Rawat was on a scheduled visit. Inquiry has been ordered into the crash. Says mortal remains will be brought to Delhi this evening around 6. Lok Sabha Speaker Om Birla expresses condolences in the House. Black box of the chopper recovered from the site of the crash yesterday in Kunur. Tributes paid to CDS General Bipin Rawat and his wife and others at Madras Regimental Centre in Wellington. India reiterates concerns on terrorist entities gaining access to chemical weapons during UNSC meeting on Syria. Cautions against the possibility of terrorist entities and individuals gaining access to such weapons of mass destruction. Olaf Scholz replaces Angela Merkel. Prime Minister Narendra Modi congratulates the new German Federal Chancellor. Says he looks forward to working closely with him to further strengthen the strategic partnership between India and Germany. US President Joe Biden says putting American troops on the ground in Ukraine to deter a potential Russian invasion not on the table. Putin calls suggestions that Russia was planning to attack Ukraine provocative. British Prime Minister Boris Johnson announces new stricter measures to control the spread of COVID cases amid the Omicron scare. Tougher restrictions include legal requirement to wear face masks, work from home and more. And five-time European champions Barcelona kicked out of the Champions League football competition. This is the first time in the last 17 years that the team has not made it to the knockout stage. And let's now begin the show with the big news of the hour, which is all about the tragic incident involving the nation's first CDS General Bipin Rawat. Well, India is mourning the loss of Chief of Defence Staff and 12 others who lost their lives in the IAF helicopter crash yesterday in Tamil Nadu. The mortal remains of late CDS General Bipin Rawat and 12 others have been brought to Madras Regimental Centre from Military Hospital Wellington in the Nilgiris district in Tamil Nadu. A wreath-laying ceremony took place in the presence of Tamil Nadu Chief Minister M.K. Stalin, senior defence officials and other dignitaries who were also there. The mortal remains are to be flown to Delhi, the national capital, and are expected to reach around 5 in the evening at Palam. And according to military sources, IAF Group Captain Varun Singh, the lone survivor of the military Mi-17V5 helicopter crash in the Nilgiris yesterday, could be shifted to Command Hospital in Bengaluru for further treatment. The Shaurya Chakra Award winner, who was admitted to the military hospital in Wellington with 80 to 85% burn injuries on Wednesday, is on life support and his condition continues to be stable but critical. The team of doctors treating him said that the next 48 hours will be crucial. About him, the President in a tweet said that my thoughts are with Group Captain Varun Singh, who has survived the tragic chopper crash. I pray for his speedy recovery and long life. And sources have also confirmed that Raksha Mantri will be calling on the President of India to apprise him of the details of the Kunur tragedy and the loss of the nation's first CDS. Meanwhile, the flight data recorder and cockpit voice recorder of the Mi-17V5 chopper that crashed yesterday with CDS General Bipin Rawat on board has been recovered from the site. The black box of the chopper was recovered from the crash site earlier in the day. With the recovery of the flight data recorder, that is the black box, it will help in ascertaining the reasons behind the crash. A probe has already been announced into the incident. Also, Tamil Nadu Forensic Science Department team reached the helicopter crash site in Kunur this morning to assist in the investigations. The team is headed by Srinivasan, Director, Department of Forensic Science. Let's now get to the latest on what is happening. We have our correspondent Aisha Khanam joining us from Wellington, Tamil Nadu. And Aisha, it's a very somber moment really, the way the CDS has been lost. Just tell us, as far as the last journey of the CDS and all those who perished along with him is concerned, at what stage are we now? Because there are different stages that the mortal remains are moving through.
Well, the investigation is progressing ahead, and the investigation teams are magnifying all the details and also collecting the forensic proof from the crash site. And also we are told that the black box is found by the investigation team, and now this will be a big challenge to decode all the information, all the conversations that are recorded in this black box, and that is where there will be clue to find out as to what led to this helicopter crash, whether it was a bad weather judgment or whether it was a machine fault or anything else. So the court of inquiry is now speeding up the inquiry at the crash site, and also a preliminary report is likely to be readied within few days, as Defence Minister has already announced in Parliament that senior army official Manavendra Singh will be heading the investigation. So we see that the investigation is now progressing in the right direction. Now, the fact that the several locals who reached the crash site yesterday to rescue the people, and also there were some trekkers who watched the helicopter disappear amidst the foggy clouds. So these people are likely to be the witnesses. But more so, the fact that Group Captain Varun is being treated at the hospital. Although yesterday we were told that his condition is critical, but he's still being treated at the Wellington hospital. So all the attention is being given to him for his speedy recovery, so that he could be a sole witness to this entire accident or the crash. And right now we saw that from this Madras Regimental Center, General Bipin Rawat, his wife Madhulika Rawat, and his other staff and the other passengers who died, who were victims of this horrifying crash yesterday, their mortal remains have been sent to Sulur, which will be reaching there any moment, and from there it will be airlifted to New Delhi, and there people can pay their last respects. So as far as Kunur is concerned, people bid him a tearful farewell from here, Madras Regimental Center, and they recollected their association with General Bipin Rawat. So at the moment the focus is on inquiry, and second, the quick recovery of Group Captain Varun.
Yes, certainly, and we heard that Group Captain Varun will be moved as well from that hospital that you were telling us about. Aisha, if you can hear me, just wanted to ask you a little bit more about Group Captain Varun. We've heard that he might be moved for better treatment facilities. It seems that we've lost.
Yes,
yes,
reports we also got here at Wellington Military Hospital. But there are expert medical teams who have reached the Wellington Military Hospital at Wellington. But a final decision will be taken with regard to the line of treatment that is being provided to him and the kind of more medical attention that is required to be given to him. Only then a final call will be taken to shift him from here. But at the moment there are different medical teams monitoring his health parameters, and so far there has been no health bulletin issued either by the hospital or by the defense sources. So at the moment we are given to understand that he is being treated at the hospital, and if required he'll be flown to either Bangalore, Chennai or New Delhi.
All right, all right. We leave it there at the moment. Aisha, you get some more information on how things are proceeding as far as Group Captain Varun is concerned. We'll get in touch with you again. Thanks for joining us for the time being. Now, as far as what's happened in Delhi is concerned, well, Defence Minister Rajnath Singh has given a statement in both houses of Parliament on the Tamil Nadu chopper crash that killed the country's first CDS, General Bipin Rawat, his wife, as well as his staff members, other officials, and the crew of the chopper as well.
अध्यक्ष महोदय, आज मैं बड़े दुख और भारी मन से 8 दिसंबर 2021 की दोपहर में हुई मिलिट्री हेलीकॉप्टर, जिसमें भारत के प्रथम चीफ ऑफ डिफेंस स्टाफ जनरल बिपिन रावत, उनकी धर्मपत्नी एवं 12 अन्य सवार थे, की दुर्घटना के दुर्भाग्यपूर्ण समाचार से अवगत कराने के लिए आप सबके बीच खड़ा हुआ हूं। जनरल बिपिन रावत डिफेंस सर्विसेज स्टाफ वाले भारी मन से वेलिंगटन के 8 दिसंबर स्टूडेंट आप सबसे इंटरेक्ट करने के लिए मिलिट्री हेलीकॉप्टर एक, जिसमें भारत के प्रथम चीफ ऑफ डिफेंस स्टाफ जनरल बिपिन रावत, उनकी धर्मपत्नी एवं 12 अन्य सवार थे, की दुर्घटना के दुर्भाग्यपूर्ण समाचार से अवगत कराने के लिए आप सबके बीच खड़ा हुआ हूं। प्राप्त जानकारी के अनुसार उस हेलीकॉप्टर में सवार कुल 14 लोगों में से 13 लोगों की मृत्यु हो गई। जिन लोगों की दुर्भाग्यपूर्ण मौतें हुई उनमें चीफ ऑफ डिफेंस स्टाफ और उनकी धर्मपत्नी श्रीमती मधुलिका रावत, उनके रक्षा सलाहकार ब्रिगेडियर लखविंदर सिंह लिड्डर, स्टाफ ऑफिसर लेफ्टिनेंट कर्नल हरजिंदर सिंह और एयर फोर्स हेलीकॉप्टर क्रू समेत आर्म्ड फोर्सेस के अन्य 9 लोग शामिल हैं। उनके नाम हैं विंग कमांडर पृथ्वी सिंह चौहान, स्क्वाड्रन लीडर कुलदीप सिंह, जूनियर वारंट ऑफिसर राणा प्रताप दास, जूनियर वारंट ऑफिसर अरक्कल प्रदीप, हरविंदर सतपाल राय, नायक गुरुसेवक सिंह, नायक जितेंद्र कुमार, लांस नायक विवेक कुमार, लांस नायक बी साई तेजा। सभी पार्थिव शरीर को आज शाम तक इंडियन एयरफोर्स प्लेन से दिल्ली लाया जाएगा। ग्रुप कैप्टन वरुण सिंह वेलिंगटन के मिलिट्री हॉस्पिटल में लाइफ सपोर्ट पर हैं और उन्हें बचाने के हर संभव प्रयास किए जा रहे हैं। इस दुर्घटना के संबंध में इंडियन एयरफोर्स द्वारा एयर मार्शल मानवेंद्र सिंह की अध्यक्षता में एक ट्राई सर्विस इंक्वायरी के भी आदेश दे दिए गए हैं। इंक्वायरी टीम के ऑफिसर्स ने कल ही वेलिंगटन पहुंचकर अपना कार्य भी प्रारंभ कर दिया है। चीफ ऑफ डिफेंस स्टाफ का अंतिम संस्कार फुल मिलिट्री ऑनर्स के साथ किया जाएगा और अन्य सभी मिलिट्री पर्सनल का अंतिम संस्कार भी एप्रोप्रिएट मिलिट्री ऑनर के साथ किया जाएगा। अध्यक्ष महोदय, अंत में मैं देश की ओर से सभी दिवंगत लोगों को हार्दिक श्रद्धांजलि अर्पित करता हूं और उनके परिवारजनों के प्रति अपनी संवेदना भी व्यक्त करता हूं।
Lok Sabha Speaker Om Birla also condoled the demise of CDS General Bipin Rawat and his wife Madhulika Rawat in the Lok Sabha. Om Birla said that the country will always remember the contribution of General Bipin Rawat towards the defence preparedness of the nation.
मैं अपनी ओर से तथा पूरे सदन की ओर से भारत के प्रथम चीफ ऑफ डिफेंस स्टाफ जनरल विपिन रावत जी तथा उनकी पत्नी श्री मधुलिका रावत की हेलीकॉप्टर दुर्घटना में दुखद मृत्यु पर शोक व्यक्त करता हूं। देश के पहले चीफ ऑफ डिफेंस स्टाफ के रूप में जनरल विपिन रावत ने हमारे देश की प्रतिरक्षा व्यवस्था में मूलभूत परिवर्तन लाने में अपना अमूल्य योगदान दिया था।
Lok Sabha also paid tribute to those who died in yesterday's chopper crash in Tamil Nadu, including late Chief of Defence Staff General Bipin Rawat. A morning session was observed in the lower house. Union Minister Prahlad Joshi also expressed condolences over the passing of CDS General Bipin Rawat and 12 others in the military helicopter crash that took place yesterday.
बहुत दुर्भाग्यपूर्ण घटना है। देश ने एक बहुत बड़े अच्छे और एक्सीलेंट ऑफिसर को हमने खो गया है।
And Tamil Nadu Chief Minister M.K. Stalin as well as several other ministers paid floral tributes to CDS General Bipin Rawat and others who lost their lives in the Kunur IF chopper crash at Madras Regimental Centre in the Nilgiris district. Union Minority Affairs Minister Mukhtar Abbas Naqvi has expressed grief over the passing away of CDS General Bipin Rawat. Naqvi said that the nation has lost an excellent officer and it is a great loss for the Indian Army and the nation.
देश की आंखें नम है वो इसलिए कि जिस तरह से जनरल रावत हमेशा देश की सुरक्षा, देश की सीमाओं की सुरक्षा, देश के लोगों की सुरक्षा के लिए हमेशा अग्रणी भूमिका निभाते रहे हैं, एक अग्रणी योद्धा की तरह काम करते रहे हैं। निश्चित तौर से एक बहुत बड़ा लॉस है, एक बहुत बड़ा नुकसान है और उनके साथ जो और लोगों की दुर्भाग्यपूर्ण मृत्यु हुई है वो हम सब के लिए बहुत ही दुखद क्षण है, बहुत दुखदायी क्षण।
General Rawat was from Uttarakhand, and in the Uttarakhand Assembly, Chief Minister Pushkar Singh Dhami, state ministers and MLAs paid tributes to CDS General Bipin Rawat, who along with his wife and 11 others died in a chopper crash in Tamil Nadu yesterday. Uttarakhand Chief Minister said that on the first day of his Vidhan Sabha session, the entire session has been dedicated to General Bipin Rawat. He added that General Rawat hailed from Uttarakhand, who worked to increase the pride of Maa Bharati in Uttarakhand, always served only and only Maa Bharati throughout his life.
पहला दिन था इस विधानसभा सत्र का। आज हमने पूरा का पूरा सत्र जो है जनरल बिपिन रावत जी को समर्पित किया है। निश्चित रूप से ऐसे सपूत जिन्होंने माँ भारती का और हमारे उत्तराखंड का गौरव बढ़ाने का काम किया, हमेशा उन्होंने संपूर्ण जीवन भर केवल और केवल माँ भारती की सेवा की, वो हमारे गौरव थे और जो काम उन्होंने किए हम उनको कभी भुला नहीं सकते। उत्तराखंड राज्य को बहुत अपूर्णीय क्षति हुई है, वैसे तो पूरे भारतवर्ष को हुई है। पूरी हमारी सेना के लिए जो काम उन्होंने किया था, देश के लिए किया था, आने वाली पीढ़ियों के लिए किया था, वो हमेशा याद आएंगे।
And we'll have more updates from you on these developments as and when they come in, but for now we're moving on to National Prime. Well, first on National Prime, let's tell you what else has also been happening in Parliament. Well, in the Raj Sabha, consideration of the National Institute of Pharmaceutical Education and Research Amendment Bill 2021, as passed by the Lok Sabha, will be taken up today. Union Health Minister Dr. Mansukh Lal Mandavia will be moving that bill to be passed in the upper house. While in the Lok Sabha, further consideration of the Central Vigilance Commission Amendment Bill 2021 will be taken up today. Union Minister Dr. Jitendra Singh will be moving that bill to be passed. Dr. Jitendra Singh will also move the Delhi Special Police Establishment Amendment Bill 2021 for consideration and passage. Meanwhile, discussion under Rule 193 will be taken up on climate change. And Prime Minister Narendra Modi in a tweet has said, and I quote, "Today, as we mark 75 years of the historic sitting of our Constituent Assembly, I would urge my young friends, to know more about this August gathering's proceedings and about the eminent stalwarts who were part of it. Doing so would be an intellectual enriching experience. Let's now tell you about a major international development. Well, Olaf Scholz has become Germany's Chancellor after 16 years with Angela Merkel at the helm. A new centre-left-led coalition has taken the wheel of Europe's top economy. Scholz, who won 395 of the 707 votes cast in the Bundestag lower house, has pledged broad continuity with popular Merkel's policies while making Germany greener and fairer. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has congratulated Olaf Scholz on being elected as the Federal Chancellor of Germany. The PM said in a quote-and-I tweet, "My heartiest congratulations to Olaf Scholz on being elected as the Federal Chancellor of Germany. I look forward to working closely to further strengthen the strategic partnership between India and Germany." Union Minister of State and Science and Technology Jitendra Singh, while answering a question related to Mission Gaganyaan, said in Rajya Sabha that India will have its own space station by 2030 and first manned space mission is expected to be completed by 2023.
In the next year, we are going to have 2 unmanned missions before finally the Gaganyaan, because that is also in the planning. In the beginning of next year, possibly, we'll have the first unmanned mission, and the second one towards the end of 2022. The hallmark of it would be that it would be accompanied with a robo, so it's being named as Vayomitra. And then following that, possibly in 2023, we have the Gaganyaan, which would undoubtedly place India in the elite club of nations, being the 4th one after America, China, the Soviet Union, now Russia, and then the 4th one, this one. And I think this will also be different from the other missions, other human missions which have been undertaken by the other nations and countries, in the sense that this is going to be more cost effective, more inclusive.
So India is set to make another landmark in space in due course by 2023, the first manned mission, and then by 2030 a space station as well. Now, taking a look at the COVID situation in the country, the recovery rate has currently climbed up to 98.36%, which is the highest since March 2020. 9,419 new cases have been reported in the last 24 hours. India's active case load is currently standing at 94,742. Weekly positivity rate is 0.74%, which is less than 1% for the last 25 days. And India's cumulative COVID-19 vaccination coverage exceeds 130.39 crores. More than 80 lakh doses were administered during the last 24 hours as well. On to other news now. During Syria chemical weapons briefing at the UNSC, Indian Counselor Prateek Mathur spoke on the high importance India attaches to Chemical Weapons Convention. He also said that investigations must be impartial, credible, with facts and evidence-based conclusion. Take a look. Minister of State for Defence Ajay Bhatt has reaffirmed India's commitment to support the United Nations in its efforts to protect peacekeepers, and that the nation is walking the talk on its support to UN peacekeeping.
We need to exert every effort to protect the peacekeepers as well, let me begin by reaffirming India's commitment to support UN efforts. We believe that 21st century peacekeeping must be anchored in a strong ecosystem of technology and innovation that can facilitate UN peacekeeping operations in implementing their mandates.
Now, last year alone, Indian Coast Guard seized illegal drugs worth 15,000 crore rupees and nabbed 80 miscreants in 10 illegal boats in India's coastal waters. Our correspondent Nandita Thakur files this report from a Coast Guard vessel in the Arabian Sea.
We are on board the Indian Coast Guard ship ICG Sajag and off the coast of Porbandar in the Arabian Sea. The Sajag is of course a multi-mission ship. It has a helicopter deck, can carry out various missions such as pollution control and interdiction of suspicious boats. Also search and rescue can also be carried out by Sajag. That is the Indian Coast Guard ship Sarthak, another advanced patrol vessel which is trailing the Sajag.
Be it maritime law enforcement, be it oil pollution response, be it assistance for scientific duties, or be it for safety of fishermen at sea, search and rescue. So all these things have been, through a statute, it has been, the job has been awarded to Coast Guard, and I think we are doing it in a fine way.
Near the Gujarat coast lies the international maritime boundary line where our hostile neighbor Pakistan regularly sends boats which carry contraband and also smuggle weapons, drugs, narcotics, etc. Attaining and maintaining high speeds in the seas is a priority for the Coast Guard, and that is why we see advanced patrol vessel ICG Sarthak on the both sides being escorted by fast patrol vessels, and they can achieve a speed of 35 knots and therefore apprehend the suspicious boats. One of the charter of duties of the Coast Guard, apart from coastal security, is also identification and searching and seizing suspicious vessels, their contraband, because it is also a maritime law enforcement agency.
In the case of these two incidents of Sri Lanka, one is MT New Diamond and one is MV Express Pearl. So one was the case in which through some very professional and proactive firefighting, we were able to save the oil spill to the tune of 2.7 lakh metric tons.
Off the Gujarat coast in the Arabian Sea, this is Nandita Dagar for DD News.
Now, the air quality in the National Capital Region continued to remain in the poor category this morning. The air quality index in the city read 208 according to SAFAR. According to the System of Air Quality and Weather Forecasting and Research, which is SAFAR, the level of PM 2.5 and PM 10 in the air stood at poor and moderate levels. With that, it's time now in Midday Prime to get you all the news and updates from the worlds of business and economy. And for all the business and economy updates, including the markets, we've got Tanvi. Over to you.
Thank you, Gautam. Up first in Business Prime, let's talk about the domestic stock markets. Well, they have recovered from initial weaknesses and gained some ground in afternoon deals on Thursday. So the Sensex at the BSE had advanced 138 points, or 0.2%, to 58,788 in afternoon deals a short while ago. The Nifty at the National Stock Exchange had gained 38 points, or 0.2%, to 17,508. In the broader market, the BSE Mid Cap Index had added 0.4% and the Small Cap Index index had gained 0.8%. The top index gainers on the BSE so far are Asian Paints, Larsen & Toubro, Reliance and ITC with gains of between 1.6 and 2.3%. The top index losers are Titan, HDFC Bank, Nestle and Kotak Mahindra with losses of between 1 and 1.7%. Most other key Asian stock markets also gained ground on Thursday, extending their gains for the second straight session amid waning fears about the economic impact of the Omicron coronavirus variant, while markets awaited US inflation data for clues on tapering. So South Korea's Kospi had added 0.9%. China's Shanghai Composite Index had climbed 1% as slowing factory-gate inflation added to investor hopes that policymakers may be able to act to boost slowing economic growth, and Hong Kong's Hang Seng Index had gained 1.1%. But Japan's Nikkei 225 Index had dropped 0.5%. Overnight on Wall Street, the key stock indices closed slightly higher on Wednesday as investors cheered encouraging news about COVID-19 vaccines from Pfizer and BioNTech. Pfizer and BioNTech said that their 3-shot course of the vaccine was able to neutralize the Omicron variant in a laboratory test, and they could deliver an upgraded vaccine by March next year if needed. So the Nasdaq Composite Index had climbed 0.6%. The S&P 500 had gained 0.3% and the Dow Jones Industrial Average had added 0.1%. Back home, the Telecom Regulatory Authority of India, TRAI, has directed Starlink, the satellite internet division of billionaire Elon Musk's rocket company SpaceX, to stop taking pre-orders in India without necessary authorizations. The development comes a week after the Department of Telecommunications, DOT, had asked TRAI to stop taking pre-orders. Starlink last Friday had said that it will apply early next year for a commercial license in India to provide broadband and other services. Meanwhile, the Telecom Regulatory Authority of India, TRAI, has suo moto floated a consultation paper on ease of doing business in telecom and broadcasting sector to identify various concerns in the existing processes and suggest measures for the reforms required in the regulatory policies, practices and procedures in the sectors for creating a conducive business environment in India. And at the interbank forex market, the rupee traded in a narrow range against the dollar in early trade on Thursday amid subdued domestic equities. Later in afternoon deals, the rupee had lost 6 paise to trade at 75 rupees 51 paise against the US dollar. So that's it from the world of business for the moment. For other news coming in from the rest of the world, let's head back to Gautam.
Thank you, Tanvi. And now we'll apprise everyone about what's been happening in the world as well across the globe. Well, first, in the latest coming in from the U.S., the Democratic-controlled U.S. Senate on Wednesday approved a Republican measure that would overturn President Joe Biden's COVID-19 vaccine or test mandate for private businesses, with 2 Democrats joining Republicans to back the initiative. The 52-48 vote sends the legislation to the Democratic-led House of Representatives, where it faces strong headwinds, while Biden has threatened to veto it. The legislation would overturn administration rules ordering businesses with 100 workers or more to require vaccinations or coronavirus testing for millions of employees. The initiative underscores the intense political opposition facing administration efforts to combat COVID-19 at a time when health officials are trying to contain the highly contagious Omicron variant. Governments need to reassess national responses to COVID-19 now and speed up vaccination programs to tackle Omicron, though it is too early to say how well existing shots will protect against the new variant, according to the World Health Organization. According to the WHO's Director General Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus, the variant's global spread suggests it could have a major impact on the COVID-19 pandemic, and the time to contain it is now before more Omicron patients are hospitalized. The WHO also said it would publish a review of its stance on booster doses within days, but that with vaccination rates still worryingly low in much of the developing world, administering primary doses rather than boosters remained its top priority.
Even though we still need answers to some crucial questions, we are not defenseless against Omicron or Delta. The steps countries take today and in the coming days and weeks will determine how Omicron unfolds. If countries wait until their hospitals start to fill up, it's too late. Don't wait. Act now. We're running out of ways to say this, but we will keep saying it.
Pfizer and BioNTech have said a booster jab of their coronavirus vaccine promises to be an effective defense against the new Omicron variant. 3 doses provide a similar level of antibodies against Omicron to that of 2 doses against other variants, the companies said after a small study. The World Health Organization earlier said vaccines should still work against severe Omicron cases. Researchers across the world are piecing together data about Omicron. It's the most heavily mutated version of the coronavirus found so far. In a statement on Wednesday, Pfizer Chief Executive Albert Bourla said protection against the variant would be improved with a 3rd dose of the jab. However, Pfizer and BioNTech noted that the results are preliminary and said they would continue to collect data and evaluate real-world effectiveness. British Prime Minister Boris Johnson has said on Wednesday he was starting a so-called Plan B for England, including guidance for people to work from home to slow the spread of the Omicron variant of the coronavirus. From this Friday, the legal requirement to wear a face mask will be extended to most public indoor venues, including theatres and cinemas. Also, a COVID pass will be mandatory to access nightclubs and places with large crowds. As the government set out Plan B, businesses will be given a week's notice on the NHS COVID pass requirements, so the new rules will come into force in a week's time. Outlining the new guidance, Johnson also introduced daily tests for contacts instead of isolation. Britain has recorded more than 145,000 COVID-19 deaths during the pandemic. A fast start to the vaccine program has since helped in contain the impact, and in recent months cases have held steady at around 43,000 daily infections and 135 deaths after Johnson lifted most restrictions in England. Although the emergency of the Omicron variant has put governments on edge around the world as well. And US President Joe Biden will hold a virtual summit with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky to debate, including other topics, the outcomes of his discussions with Russian President Vladimir Putin. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan spoke at a news conference at the White House on Tuesday and stated President Biden will be speaking with President Zelensky on Thursday following on the discussion between President Zelensky and Secretary Blinken. Simultaneously emphasized that Biden's government maintains daily interaction with top Ukraine government leaders. And taking an update on the Ukraine crisis, Joe Biden said on Wednesday putting American troops on the ground in Ukraine to deter a potential Russian invasion was not on the table, and he hoped to announce a meeting with Russia and other NATO countries by Friday. Speaking to reporters as he left the White House, Biden said he had made it clear to Russian President Vladimir Putin during his nearly 2-hour-long virtual meeting on Tuesday that there would be economic consequences like none before if Russia invades Ukraine, and he is confident Putin got the message.
Our NATO allies, if they were to attack under Article 5, it's a sacred obligation. That obligation does not extend to NATO, to Ukraine, but it would depend upon what the rest of the NATO countries were willing to do as well. But the idea the United States is going to unilaterally use force to confront Russia invading Ukraine is not in the cards right now. But what will happen is there will be severe consequences that will have.
Meanwhile, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky on Wednesday welcomed US President Joe Biden's personal role in trying to attain peace in eastern Ukraine in his first comments after Biden held talks with Russian President Vladimir Putin a day earlier. Speaking at a news conference, Zelensky also hoped that Ukraine and Russia could agree to a new ceasefire and prisoner exchanges when their representatives held talks on the conflict in Ukraine's Donbas region. Biden and Putin held talks on a video call on Tuesday after Ukraine and its NATO allies accused Russia of massing tens of thousands of troops near Ukraine's borders in preparation for a possible large-scale military offensive.
I believe that Ukraine's victory is that the United States have always supported Ukraine, our sovereignty and our independence. We had the support of the two parties, but the most important thing that we see now is that there is a personal real reaction and personal role of President Biden in resolving this conflict, the war in the east of our state. I believe it is the most important thing.
And Russian President Vladimir Putin said on Wednesday that Russia would send proposals to Washington within a week to follow up his talks with Joe Biden on Ukraine. Putin told reporters the talks had been open and constructive, and the main thing was that there was a possibility to continue the dialogue. But he called for suggestions that Russia was planning to attack Ukraine provocative. Putin and Biden spoke on Tuesday to set out their opposing positions on Ukraine, which says it is bracing for a possible invasion by tens of thousands of Russian troops close to its border. Biden warned Putin that the West would impose strong economic and other measures on Moscow if it invaded, while Putin demanded guarantees that NATO would not expand eastwards.
It is a provocative question. Russia follows a peaceful foreign policy, but it has the right to ensure its safety, as I said before, in mid-term and long-run prospects. And we discuss it with our partners, with all of our partners, including my partner in conversation, the United States President, Mr. Biden. We cannot but be concerned by the prospect of Ukraine joining NATO because it will lead, without a doubt, to the deployment of troops, military bases, and threatening us with weapons there.
Now, the International Olympic Committee's President Thomas Bach continued to downplay the potential impact of the boycotts, which have so far been announced by Australia, Canada and the United Kingdom and the United States on Beijing Winter Olympics. Dismissing the diplomatic boycotts as purely political, he said he was focused on the fact that the athletes from each country will still be competing.
The integrity of the games are about the integrity of the sports competitions. And therefore, we have our full focus, on the athletes. The games are about and for the athletes, and therefore you will hear the same comment from us for every political decision from any government. We have been concerned with the athletes. We welcome that they can participate, that they are supported by their national governments, and the rest is politics, and our political neutrality, the principle is applied.
Now, Russia's Ministry of Defense has published a video on Wednesday depicting French warplanes in air supposedly above the Black Sea's international waters. The ministry stated that jets were heading towards the Russian border, and several Russian military jets, that is Su-27s, escorted them until they turned around. France's Armed Forces Ministry said earlier on Wednesday that a Russian jet escorted French warplanes that were carrying out a NATO observation mission in international airspace over the Black Sea. Citing the Russian Defense Ministry, RIA news agency earlier said Russian military aircraft scrambled to escort French Rafale and Mirage fighter jets flying over the Black Sea. The interaction is not uncommon, with similar incidents previously happening, but comes amid tensions between the West and Russia in the region. And it's time now to get you all the updates from the world of sports. And we've got Samriddhi with us to take you through a range of sporting arenas. Over to you, Samriddhi.
Yeah, thank you, Gautam. And first up in Sports Prime, the Board of Control for Cricket in India, BCCI, announced India's squad for the upcoming tour to South Africa. And as expected, Virat Kohli will lead the side, while Rohit Sharma has been named as the vice captain. Ajinkya Rahane, who has been under the scanner for his poor run with the bat of late, has been also named in the squad but has been relieved of vice captaincy. Now the tour will mark the comeback of KL Rahul and Rishabh Pant to international cricket. While Rahul missed the New Zealand Test series due to an injury, Rishabh was arrested for all the 5 fixtures against the Black Caps. Rishabh has been he's replaced KS Bharat, who was included as Riddhiman Saha's backup for the Test series. Barcelona signed off on their worst Champions League campaign in 2 decades on Wednesday as another comprehensive defeat at the hands of Bayern Munich sealed elimination at the group stage. Now the Catalans went into their final game battling Benfica for the second qualifying spot in Group E and knowing they might well need to chase a result in the Allianz Arena. But Bayern barely broke sweat in taking apart Xavi's men, while the Portuguese side took the necessary 3 points to send them to the last 16 as runners-up behind Ben. And Travis Head smashed 100 to put Australia on top as Australia ended day 2 of the ongoing first Ashes test against England at a score of 343 for 7 down. Australia gets the lead with 196 runs at the Gabba in Brisbane, and Head's century came after Ollie Robinson led England's fight back with 3 wickets to his name earlier in the day. David Warner posted a knock-off 94 to help his side overhaul England's first innings total in the post-lunch session after Australia lost their first wicket early in the day. Marnus Labuschagne also scored a half-century and was dismissed for 74 in the day's second session after he combined with Warner to put Australia on top. Well, that's all we have in Sports Prime for now. Back to you, Gautam.
Thank you, Samriddhi. And that's all we have for the moment in Midday Prime as well. But all the latest will continue right here on DD India. A topmost story, of course, being the passing away in a tragic accident of the nation's first CDS, General Bipin Rawat. His mortal remains and those who perished along with him en route to Delhi. They were to reach Sulur and then they will be en route to Delhi and be here by the evening for all the people who want to pay their tributes to him physically at his residence as well. We'll track that closely for you. Stay with DD India.